Well, hello. You know what? Brownies are delicious. We love them. The chocolatey, the fudgy, the better. You've seen my recipe. But why not a blondie? I love a blondie brownie. I really do. They are white. They don't have the chocolate in them, but they're chewy and dense and can have so much delicious flavor. So that's what we're gonna make. And they're really easy because you can do it all in one bowl. Now, to start, I did my favorite thing. I browned the butter. Yes, I did. You know why? When you brown butter, look at this. It gets toasty, so you melt the butter first and then it starts foaming, and then slowly you don't hear the bubbles anymore, and what you see is all this browning occur on the edges first and then throughout the middle. And all those brown bits are so much flavor. They're toasty, caramelly, dare I say butterscotchy? What they are is delicious. So I browned this butter and just let it sit here for a little bit. And what I wanna do is put it into a bowl, because we're starting with melted butter. So this is Grandma's recipe. Grandma made these every so often. She would put some other things in them. I'm just gonna make this simple, kind of like nothing extra, just blondie brownies here. But I wanna get all that goodness in. Grandma also was a lover of any type of brown butter, because we all know how delicious it is. So I'm gonna put it in some light brown sugar. You could use a dark brown. It has deeper depth of flavor, but it will still be good. Often people want to know, can you substitute? Of course you can. The flavor might be a little bit darker or deeper, but you can of course substitute. So these are brownies, and the thing is with a brownie, what? We eat it as a treat once in a while, so you want to make them extra good, and that's why I go the extra mile with things like browned butter, with doing things that will just add more flavor. So I'm slowly whisking in, which you can see here, you can't perfectly whisk in the butter to the sugar, but you just kind of are incorporating it. And then it also helps to start break up some of those brown sugar bits. If you get the bits in there, just make sure you break them up. This is a fresh batch of brown sugar, so it should. But you can see what I'm doing is just incorporating those two, nothing special. And now what we're gonna do is the eggs, so one at a time. So kind of like normal brownies, I want these to be dense and I want them to be somewhat fudgy. So that means the brown sugar, that's gonna help them be caramelly, fudgy, goodness, not only with flavor, but also with texture. And then some eggs here to add richness, but also give them just the right texture. We don't want so much egg that it becomes a cake. We want just enough egg that it keeps it dense and fudgy and almost gooey. So I'm whisking this up just to make sure my eggs are really incorporated. And what you can see here is, look at all those brown bits. Now I know that might look scary, but if you haven't had brown butter, those bits, they're gold. They really are. So I'm stirring it up. Look at that goodness. And we're gonna add some vanilla. Yes, I make my vanilla at home and just keep refilling the bottle. I have a video on it. To me, if you make it at home, it's such a much more flavor impact than some of the store-bought extracts. But even if you're gonna buy it, yes, I do think you need to buy the extract. I do think it has a more nuanced flavor. Not necessarily always a stronger flavor, but definitely more nuanced. So, it smells so good. Once you put in all that deliciousness, like the vanilla and how it bounces off with the brown butter, it's so good. So now we have dry ingredients. So we're gonna add some flour. And the trick here is you wanna add enough flour that you get a brownie, but not so much that it becomes too lofty and cakey. That's the trick. So I'm always, though, with my flour, instead of stuffing in too much and just going down and scooping in and packing it in here, what do? I take a scoop and I add it in like this, because I'm not overfilling then my measuring cup. I'm doing just enough. So what we have here is our flour. We're gonna add in a little bit of baking powder. So the baking powder, again, it's a texture. You wanna get the right texture with the baking powder, and that's what that's gonna do. And we're also gonna add in some salt, because I use unsalted butter often when I bake, so I can adjust the salt as needed, just what is needed. So once I put in the flour, I don't like to overmix. I think we're used to overmixing and we don't want to. So what we wanna do is just take like a spatula, and I'm just gonna fold in the flour. So this is kind of like I would do with a brownie, instead of just whisking it in hard. And what you're gonna notice is, I'm not gonna fully mix this in. I know, that's surprising. But what you're gonna notice here is, I'm gonna leave it somewhat, those dry streaks remain, which seems scary, but the thing is, when you beat in tons of flour into a baked good, and you just sit here, even with like an electric mixer, and just beat and beat, it develops gluten and it can make them tough. You don't want that with a brownie. So do you see how it still has a little bit of that dry cakiness? That's when I'm gonna add in all of our white chocolate chips. Sometimes I think it's comical how we have certain things that we just do with certain foods. So with Blondies, you do white chocolate chips. Why? I don't know. And you know what? White chocolate chips have a bad name sometimes because there's no chocolate in them. There's cocoa butter in them. But they're good. They have a sweet flavor, they have a good flavor, and they're delicious. So I'm gonna clean up here. We'll get them into a pan, we'll get these baking, but let me tell you something. The smell alone right now, this is gonna get you to love these brownies. So I have a greased, or you can do butter, whatever you want to oil your baking dish with. I have mine ready to go. And you know what? Yeah, I do. I grease anything just because it makes it cleaner. It makes cleanup easier, but it also just makes slicing them and getting them out of there easier. So whether you do a butter, which if you grease it with butter, it will always give it more flavor, or whatever works for you. So I'm just slightly pressing these out. You can tell they're a pretty rich brownie, so they kind of just slide out and slide into the corners. But what I love is you still see the specks. Do you see all those in there? You guys, that's so exciting. Of the brown butter, it's just delicious. So we have it, look how easy this cleans up, which means there's a copious amount of butter in it, but that's okay. These are once in a while. We're still kind of in winter mode, right? We're still hibernating, packing on the pounds to keep us warm. We'll soon be outside. So I'm gonna put these now in the oven. This is how simple Blondies are. You can bake them in one bowl. When Grandma did this, it was always the best. Now she put nuts in hers. I'm not doing that for you because these are just simple. So we're gonna let them bake. We'll pull them out here in a little bit, let them cool, and I guess I'll try them. I pulled these out a little bit ago and let them cool just slightly. They're still a little bit warm. What I love is when you pull them out, they're slightly puffed and then they fall and crinkle on themselves. So you can check to make sure the center, like with a skewer, but you want that skewer to come out slightly gooey. You want the edges to be set, but you want it to have a gooey center because it's a brownie. Of course you do. So I'm gonna cut a row here so I can get a slice out. Now, if you let them cool completely, usually they'll set up even better. So if you're worried that they're still a little soft, as they cool, they kind of finish cooking. That's the thing, when you pull things out of the oven, they finish baking out of the oven because there's so much residual heat in the baking dish that it keeps baking. I'm gonna try to pull out. The first one's always hard, but we do what we can, you know? We do. Oh yeah, this is what I love. See, you get the various levels of goo, but then set around the edges. Ugh. Let me tell you something too. That's intoxicating. This is just like grandma goodness right here. You get the good brownie, there's gooiness, and the crinkly top. I do, I love it. It tastes just like it smells, which means nothing for you, but everything for me. These really are delicious. What I love is, to me they're a classic Blondie, but they have just a slight added nuance of flavor with that browned butter. A little bit more caramelly notes, a little bit more, I don't know, just like an extra depth that you're just like, I need to have more of that. I wanna have more of this. The white chocolate chips, they add that nice vanilla sweetness. It just goes well and balances out the Blondie bar itself. I love these, I think you will too. What's great about them is if you want to change them up, add nuts into them, add some toasted nuts. You could do chocolate chip instead of white chocolate. But you're either way gonna love the base recipe because it's just super flavorful and that's what matters. And what's fun is it's different than just a chocolate brownie. It's something different. Let's have fun and try something different. So what do I hope you do with these? I hope you share this video. It helps me a lot when you share this video. It helps other people to find me, but it also helps other people see how easy good, fun, homemade food can be. When we make food at home, when we share it with people we love, life is just better, and that's what matters. So make some good food, enjoy it. Check my website, wiseguide.com, for this recipe. All my other recipes, they're always there. Enjoy.